this is a guy who could be the ace of your staff. We look at the recent big college arms that have made it, the big rise to the big leagues, like Paul Skeens and Chase Burns. Like, I think he's right up there with Chase Burns.
Yeah, I would agree.
Alrighty, welcome to another episode of the Royals Pipeline. It is MLB draft season. I'm Jared. That's Kevin. We are ready to talk some MLB draft. I think this is going out Friday morning, so we're about 24 hours away, a little bit more than 24 hours away from the MLB draft. Excited to kind of break it down. We're going to go through some mock drafts that we put together. But first, want to get into information about the upcoming draft. So kind of what to know about the draft, how it's different from other drafts. Just in terms of what to know from the draft, I think the first thing to kind of kick off with is how strong this class is compared to previous years. So last year we talked about the class was not very strong at all. The Royals were actually in a great spot picking as late as they did because they were kind of able to have those two slots in the first round and buy down some prep prospects that they really like. And we've seen the success of Josh Hammond and the success of Sean Gamble of recent. I know, Kevin, you've been following Gamble for a while, but what are some things that you want people to know about this draft too?
Yeah, and I think one of the things is right. This is a very deep draft. I think the Royals have a very good slot with this draft. I mean, the Royals they overperform their odds on the lottery, and so this is, again, the lottery has been kind of a new thing in Major League Baseball, kind of similar to the NBA that does a lottery. The NFL doesn't do a lottery, so the whole point is to prevent tanking. Royals went 82 and 80 last year, didn't make the playoffs, but they got the sixth pick. So, so they have a really good position right now, and that's going to be really helpful for this draft. And so I think that's just something for people to know is like, hey, this is a great opportunity for the Royals to really get better, especially in one of the best draft classes we've seen in a while.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's going to be interesting to kind of see how it all pans out from that sixth pick. So we want to go through our mock draft. So we use the Overslot Baseball mock draft simulator. Shout out to Joe Doyle and all the folks there at Overslot who put that together. Really awesome tool. You can kind of just go through. It's got projected like slot values, and then it has what they expect the pick to go for. So like if you pick Flora at the Royals pick 6, I think he's at like 7.3 million, and the slot value is 7.7 million. So he's got numbers assigned to all the guys there as well. So this is for the first 10 rounds. We're going to go through all 10 picks, try to get it under an hour here. But we're going to start with the first round. Do you want to start with the first round, or do you want to go from the bottom round up and then work our way up?
I think we just treat it like a normal draft and just go first rounds,
Yeah.
and then we go from there. I know for the first couple of rounds, it's going to be familiar because we've talked about it already, but like I said, this is an actual draft simulator. So like, we're actually like making picks here. So it's not necessarily who we want, it's who's available. And so this is kind of what we selected.
Yeah, I love it. Kev, let's start off with your first round pick. You got Jackson Flora out of UC Santa Barbara.
Yeah, I love this one. And according to the Overslot, he came in about 7.3. So our slot value is 7.7. So slightly under slot here. I just think he's the best pitcher right now in this draft. He can move quickly. I mean, this is an ace arm. And right now, I mean, I don't think you should be drafting for Major League based on what's happening at the major leagues. But I think Flora is a legitimate pick that I think really helps set up your rotation. We know we're going to see Kendry Churio is going to be pitching in the Futures game over the weekend during All-Star weekend. He's off to a great start. David Shields has been off to a great start. So I feel like you're bringing in Flora to go along with Churio and Shields. That's a great trio, and that's not even counting Justin Lampkin, who's been hurt, but we don't know why he's hurt. I mean, all we know is that they're being cautious, but he's on a 60-day IL. But if Lampkin gets healthy, that's 4 starters that you're kind of looking could really impact at least Double-A next year, maybe more, depending on how fast they move. So I think the Royals go with, if Flora is available at 6, I feel like they got to really jump on it if he's available.
Yeah, I know. I would love if Flora falls some of them at 6. I'm worried about the Pirates and Giants having those 2 picks right in front of them. That's the one thing I think that will keep the Royals from getting Flora. I don't think it's like if Flora goes there, they're passing on Jackson Flora. I think if Jackson Flora falls to them at 6, kind of like Jack Cags in
Yeah.
that situation, like I don't think they thought Jack Caglione was going to fall to them, and they was like, we got to get this guy. So like I look at Flora. I mean, it's an incredible pitch mix. Like you have a 70 grade heater that is absolutely blows by people. He's got two breaking balls that have both flash plus. Like it is a very, very well rounded arsenal. I think I look at the rest of the pitchers in this MLB draft, and like after Flora, it's kind of a big fall off. You're looking at prep arms like Gio Rojas and Carson Boloman, and then it's like Cam Fluky. While Cam Fluky was above Flora going into the preseason, but the injury really has dropped Cam Fluky down into like the 20-ish range. And so like are you going to take the risk on a Cam Fluky when he came back from that injury? He didn't look great. I think he gave up like 5 home runs or 3 home runs in a game to Texas State on just the fastball alone. Fastball just didn't have the same giddy up that it did when you saw him in the College World Series against LSU. So like Schnall, the former Coastal head coach, talked about how like Fluky's fine. Like any team that's going to take him is going to get a winner. And I think he's right. But also your coach is going to back you up in terms of trying to help you draft stock. So like I think Flora is the guy. I think you're looking at a 60 OFP type player. This is a guy who could be the ace of your staff. We look at the recent big college arms that have made the big rise to the big leagues, like Paul Skeens and Chase Burns. Like I think he's right up there with Chase Burns.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I mean, he has the tools, he has the mindset. I mean, again, you kind of watch a video on him. He's a very big student of the game. It's kind of everything that you want. So I mean, I agree. It's in this draft simulator, Burris was off the board, Booth was off the board, so it really was kind of like a pitcher. Flora was really the best available. So, but even if he's not, I think if he falls to 6, I feel like the Royals got to pounce on him.
Yeah, yeah. I'll go to my first rounder. I went with Eric E.J. Booth Jr. here, prep outfielder. This guy is very, very intriguing to me because like oftentimes you're not going to see the type of tool set that you see in an Eric Booth Jr. You're looking at a 50 grade arm, a 50 grade field. The hit tool is a 60. The power potential is there. The run is a 70. Like this guy, he's gonna like I saw Shooter Hunt talk about this on our recent podcast from PBR. He said he's gonna tap it backside and it's gonna come off the bat at 105. He's plus runner, plays center field, does everything right. You watch the attitude of this kid when he plays games, and it's just like it's a powder keg of an outfielder. Like the athleticism is just, and the raw traits and tools are just kind of something you can dream on, right? I think you look at Eric Booth, and to me, he's the best prep player out of Grady Emerson in this draft. And again, we're looking at the Pirates and Giants. I feel like they're both in on Eric Booth Jr. as well. There's a reason why, like, we're talking about these guys because, like, there's a chance they could slip to the Royals at 6, but, like, what is the likelihood? And I think if either Booth or Flora are there, I think they're going to have a hard decision if both are there. But I think if one of the other are there, that's going to be your top 2 picks for the Royals.
Yeah, I agree. And it's, I liked Booth a lot. And I think really if you're looking at that 6th pick, I mean, if you can get Booth or Flora, I think you can be really happy. I mean, I think if Flora's not available, then I think Booth is kind of the guy. I don't want the Royals to overdraft a pitcher like a Rojas or like a Cam Fluky or a Mason Edwards, not because they're bad, but it's just like that's a big overdraft. I think Booth could really be a good long-term piece for them. I think the outfield needs people in the long term that are going to be able to really stick. So I think, if he's, like you said, San Francisco and Pittsburgh are tough. I mean, those are 2 that have been on both Flora and Booth. I feel the Pirates are more likely to get one of those 2. The Giants, I'm kind of hoping maybe Posey freaks out and does something out of characteristic and doesn't draft best available because he's worried about his job or something. But if you can get either or, I think that's a win-win for the Royals.
Yeah, and so the one thing I will say too is like I didn't see like Justin LeBron potentially going to the Pirates, which would be a big reach, but they would save a ton of money and get an uber athlete. Like we talk about athleticism and just tools to dream on. Like LeBron is one of those guys. Like if you can get him in kind of into the lab and kind of fix some of the things with the hit tool there, like LeBron is probably one of the best players. We talked about him being potential 1-1 in the preseason along with Drew Burris and Rock Chalowski. Like those 3 guys were kind of battling it out for 1-1. So like you could see the Pirates maybe go that direction if they really want a tooled up guy. So I think there's gonna be some surprises in the top five. I think everybody's mocks are gonna get blown up, and it's gonna be just kind of wild. One guy I do want to bring up, I got the Georgia Tech hat on, so I think
Yeah.
I got to talk about him a little bit. Is Drew Burress? Because we talk about the Royals taking Eric Booth Jr. here, an outfielder who's kind of tooled up, um, kind of raw in some areas, and you kind of are looking to build on that. But you look at a guy like Drew Burress, you're looking at a 60 grade arm, you're looking at a 55 field, you're looking at a 55 hit tool, you're looking at a 60 power, you're looking at a 55 run. Like this is a guy I think that's really, really hard to pass up on. I think in our ranking at Just Baseball, he's a top five. He's number four, I believe, in our ranking.
Yep.
He at every level has produced. Like he was a highly touted prep prospect, and he decided to go to campus. Believe he graduated early from Georgia Tech as well and got his degree. Like he was taking summer classes. Like he had a goal in mind to graduate from the Georgia Tech University, and he has just absolutely dominated in the ACC for the past three seasons. He's the all-time home runs leader. He beat Jason Varitek at Georgia Tech as the all-time home run leader. And he's like, yes, I get he's 5'9", but he's putting up exit velos that have approached 111 miles an hour. Like this dude has power. Like it's 60 grade power for a guy who's 5'9". And I think people look at um his size sometimes and kind of overlook him. And part of me, I read Joe Doyle's write up recently with some of his insights of the draft, and he's kind of saying that the Royals have people kind of smoke screened right now, thinking that they're going to take a prep when they're really going to take a college bat. And I could see them taking Burris. Like if they take Drew Burris there, I think you can't be mad as a Royals fan.
Yeah, I think that's the hope, is that you're going to have a 1A or 1B or 1C scenario involving Flora, Booth, and Burris. Like, if the Royals lose out on all three of those guys before six, that's just rotten luck. But somebody's going to be available, right? Because we know Rock is going to go one or two. We know what's the Georgia Tech catcher's name again?
Unlucky.
Yeah, Val. So that's another guy we know is going to go there. We know Emerson's going to go. So you kind of hope that one of those three. And I agree. I think everybody's like, this isn't a Nick Madrigal, right? This isn't a guy that's like, oh, the size is an issue. The batted ball data speaks for itself. The exit velocity data speaks for itself. And so I'd be really happy with the Burris. I mean, I think I think the Royals, like if they get Burris, yeah, I mean, maybe the ceiling isn't as high as maybe an Eric Booth, but you're getting a guy who's very polished, very proven, and can move very fast in this system. I mean, that's a guy that could probably debut by the end of 2027, maybe 2028 if all goes well.
Yeah, I'm looking at the mock draft simulator now because I was curious in terms of like slot value. So Burris and Booth are probably going to come in at around 8 million. So you're probably going right at slot value right there for them, or
Right.
a little bit over. Where like Jackson Flora, you could potentially save a little bit, but I do think like I don't know if you're going to save a ton with Jackson Flora either.
I don't think so either.
He's highly coveted. I know like Doyle's simulator had him at like 7.3 versus the 7.7 million slot. Like I think you're going to be right at slot for Flora because like the teams above him want him, the teams below him want him. Like he's got enough in the take in terms of leverage. So I think either of the three of the guys. This is the other thing too. I think Royals fans need to kind of realize like if you get one of those three guys, you can't call it a bad pick. Like
No.
that's the one. It's the showcasing how deep this draft is, and two, how much talent there is in this draft, and three, like Royals are in a good spot to pick. Like they're going now, if they go like a Mason Edwards, like some of the rumors that we've been seeing out of USC, and they go down the board and like save a ton of money and give Edwards $4 million, $5 million, and they save a bunch of slot money there, then you're kind of like, okay, what are we doing? But I think like if they go for the best available, which Brian Bridges has tended to do in the last couple of drafts that he's been with the Royals, he's going for the best available guy. He said that even when they took Jack Haggs in 24, they're like, we wanted the best available guy.
Yeah, and I agree. I think this is Brian Bridges running the draft. This is not Lonnie Goldberg or Ontiveros running the draft. So it's like, again, and you could kind of say, what about Sean Gamble? Well, I mean, they paid Sean Gamble slot. So obviously if they're paying him slot, it's like, hey, this is the best available guy that we have. So I definitely think that even if Flora goes, I don't think it's going to be a tremendous saver. It might be that slot value, like you said.
Yeah. Let's go to pick 30, your comp pick here. Who do you
Yeah,
got?
I went with he was available at this slot. I went with Logan Redmond from UCLA. He was a guy that was doing really well, was high upside, transfer from University of San Diego, really big arm, but he got hurt, and and he's dealt with injury, and so he kind of went under slot on the simulator. He went to about his value was about 2.3 or 2.4, so the Royals
Yeah.
value was 3.2. So I kind of view it as a saver here. I think Redmond, if he had stayed healthy, he would get a lot of first round buzz. But and again, he was on the best team um, in the nation at one point. But when he kind of struggled with injury, UCLA kind of bowed out and they kind of faded out. And so I think I think this could be a really great pick. I think if you combo him with Flora, that's two really good arms, and you're really adding a depth to your system that you sorely need, and that's going to be kind of hitting that high A, double A level, which is kind of where the Royals are kind of lacking in terms of pitching, especially at double A.
Yeah, I agree. And looking at like just bringing the college aspect into it, but like UCLA, the reason they didn't make a run, they didn't have Redmond during the playoffs. Like he was gone in the regionals, so they didn't have their Friday night ace to go help them get that like first win. And he's a guy, he's a strike thrower. Like he's a guy who lives in the strike zone. He's very impressive. Fastball's electric. It's an electric factory. I think he's 93 to 96. He's topped out at 98, 90. I think even got to a 99
Yeah.
this spring. And the breaking ball needs some work, but like there's some mid rotation upside there. But like you said, with the injury, he's kind of fallen into this area, and this is a guy that I could see them going with. Um, so I kind of switched mine around because I didn't realize the Sean Duncan injury. He had Tommy John surgery, so I bumped him down a couple of rounds, and I went with a guy that has been getting a ton of buzz in Jack Slidham. So I had the Royals picking Slidham in the third, but from everything I'm reading, Slidham's not even going to get past maybe the comp pick here for the Royals. He's just absolutely skyrocketed for him. This is a prep arm that I don't know if the Royals have interest in, but I know a lot of teams have had a ton of interest in, and he's kind of just skyrocketed up draft boards. It's a guy who's been 97 to 98. He's sat 93 to 95 in the later innings. Got a good changeup, good slider. Kid out of Illinois, so we know how like Royals sometimes like the guys out of the Midwest. So
Yeah.
could see them tapping a prep arm like here. Like you save a good amount of money if you take like a floor. Maybe if you get to save a little bit of money in your first with Flora, who knows? Same with Booth. Who knows if you're going to save a little bit of money? But like if you can go get a slide him at this spot, I think you're gonna have to pay him like 2 million or something. But you could still get him a little bit above. And I like this pick, having a slide him here.
Yeah, I think this could be a really good one, especially I think a lot depends on, like you said, what they're doing with the first round pick. But I like kind of like a high upside arm here at that second round, or that comp pick. I was kind of looking at that, but just the way the draft fell in my mock, I just kind of said, "Hey, Redmond's available. Let's just go to college pitchers here."
Yeah, no, I agree. It's kind of what the Royals did last year too in 2025,
Right.
or not 2025. Was it? Yes, yes, it was when they went Cameron Millar in the third round, and they gave him quite a bit of money. I think they gave him what one was it 1 point? Yeah, 1.4 million and a $700,000 slot. I think Slidham would be somewhat similar. Slot value is a little bit more, but I think you're going to have to give someone like Slidham like 2 million to actually get him to sign, and sign him away from Cincinnati. So,
Yeah.
uh, moving on to the second round, you had Cole Prosek out of Magnolia Heights High School. I like Cole Prosek. This is a good one right here.
Yeah, I really do. I kind of watched some of his combine video. He participated in the combine, and the exit velocity on what he was hitting was really great. I mean, he's just really polished, has a good athleticism. I feel like Brian Bridges really likes these guys, like Gamble and Hammond, just these really
Mhm.
polished prep guys that have like that can play multiple positions, that have some good exit velocities, and we're starting to see some of that success right now in low A. I mean, I know Sean Gamble had a slow start, but he is been on fire since June, and then obviously Josh Hammond has been a success story. So this is kind of my overslot. I mean, Prosek was about the slot's about 1.7, and Prosek was a 3 million. So that's obviously a very big commitment. But again, I was saving some money with Redmond there, so I decided to go with the prep bat and Prosek.
I like it. I went the prep arm here, and Sean Duncan, the another prep arm. I know he had Tommy John surgery just recently. This is a guy I saw in the MLB draft league, and he was, I believe, 17 at the time. He's going to be 18.1 on draft day. It is a lot of David Shields 2.0 you're looking at here. Again, 55 arm. It's just like very, 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 or it's a 55, yeah, 55 arm, and just kind of impressive stuff here from the kid. It's he lives in the strike zone. Everything strikes. Like he has a 4 pitch mix, and he's able to just absolutely just dot the strike zone. Like I when I saw him pitch in the MLB draft day, I was like, looked at this guy like this is the day one art. Like obviously the torn UCL that he had surgery right before the draft. I think that's going to ding him a little bit. We saw Sean Manaea, another pick that the Royals made. They kind of underslotted him, or they underslotted Hunter Dozier so they could pay Manaea more, even though he had a big time injury coming out of the draft. Could they do the same with Duncan? Like hope that maybe he slips to the second or third round, but the kind of the projected upside there, even though he had TJ, like I could still see like that's an arm that Brian Bridges is going to love.
Yeah, I agree. And then plus one of the things that the Royals have done is they've really tapped into kind of Canadian born prospects pretty well. I mean, obviously Tyson Moran as a hitter has been doing pretty well. Obviously LP Langevin has probably been one of the best, relievers that they probably have in their system right now as well. So, I mean, I think, Sean Duncan, another Canadian prospect, I think the Royals have a good sense and touch and connection with those folks. And so I could see Duncan really slotting in here in the second round.
Yeah, love it. Let's go on to the third round. We're going back to injured pitchers here with Jake McCoy out of South Carolina.
Yeah, so I went here. This was kind of my sleeper pick, and again, third round value. Jake McCoy missed all 2026 because of arm injury. He came in about 698,000 on signing. About eight. McCoy that slot's about 873. So you're saving some money here. The Royals have had some success with guys coming off the injury. I know Noah Cameron was one guy that was coming off and missed a lot of time because of injury. He had big strikeout numbers with South Carolina. He mostly stood out in the Cape Cod League. He had a 1.46 ERA and an insane 18.2 K per nine, and that's kind of what got him on the radar. The surface levels numbers aren't great. Like you look at his ERAs, they're not great. There's probably more reliever risk here. But I think especially when you kind of look at this kind of pick at 3, it's like, hey, this is a guy I think we could really take a big swing with and kind of see what he can bring. And at the very least, it's like maybe this is a power arm that could handle it in our bullpen.
Yeah, no, I like McCoy pick a lot. Yeah, actually, when I did a couple other mocks, so I tried to do a mock with Booth as a first rounder, Burris as the first rounder, Flora as a first rounder, and I kept coming back to McCoy kind of in this area. I think he's going to be hard to get away from campus just because he was a potential top 20th pick, potential first rounder. I think he's going to want to come back. I don't know how long he's out for because he missed all of 2026. I assume he's coming back at some point next year. Yeah. But I think he might be a little bit a harder guy to get from campus just because you want to go out there and kind of prove yourself. And he's going to Tennessee too. So he'll have a chance to kind of an opportunity to kind of show what he's got there. But I mean, it's day one stuff. Like it's the same situation as Sean Duncan, like where Sean Duncan just had Tommy John surgery. It's a guy you're like, are you going to take the injury risk? It might be worth it because like if he comes back healthy and you got a day one type arm, like if everything kind of puts itself together, you're looking at a mid rotation type guy. And if you can get him in the third round, like that's a steal.
Yeah, I agree. And I think especially when you start to get to these kind of slots, these third, fourth, fifth rounds, this is kind of where you're looking for is kind of these upside in these slots. And I think McCoy really fits despite the injury risk.
Yeah. I'm going a different route here because Booth and Slidham are going to cost a lot of money. So I went with a money saver here and Ethan Kleinschmidt, I think, who's going to save them some money in the third round. He's a 4-year college guy, but also a guy that I think like Brian Bridges would love. It's a lefty with 2 above average pitches. It's a lefty who lives in the strike zone. Changeup needs some work, but like he's got a ton of swing and miss on the breaking ball. Fastball is it's run up to 95 before in the past. It's like in the low 90s range is kind of where he lives. But he's got some natural deception, and we know how the Royals love their deceptive lefties. I just feel like Kleinschmidt's a guy where it's like you look at it, he's probably a top 100 player in the draft, but he's a 4-year college guy. You can save some money here.
Yeah.
He's probably going to be a quick riser through the minor leagues, and he's only 21 years old on draft day. Like, I just feel like Kleinschmidt would be a good fit for this team.
Yeah, and that's a good point, and that's the one thing that I think some people just don't understand with the MLB draft is like, the concept of leverage, right? It's you're in the NFL, right? It's like you declare for the draft, or you NBA, you go to the draft, and that's kind of it. But like in baseball, right? It's like, hey, if I'm a a high schooler, or I have eligibility left, I can always go back. So like this is like you said, when you have these 4-year seniors, teams hold more leverage there, which can give more savings on the slot.
Yep, I agree. Going into round 4, we both have the same pick here.
Same
Dylan
guy.
Vagu out of Georgia. What you got on Vagu here? I think it's
I,
Vagu. I don't know how
yeah,
to say it.
yeah. I think it's like I thought maybe Vig, but I need to watch more clips. This is on me, but I like this one again. Polished college arm, 4.43 ERA at Georgia. He had a better ERA in 2024. It was 3.86, but he saw an increase in Ks. So that's one of the things is like if you're going to see an ERA increase, at least if you have strikeouts, you can kind of live with that, right? So he had a 10 K per nine in the Cape Cod. I just like this kind of arm at 4. Again, it's like I kind of invested in pitching heavy in this draft, especially early on. I mean, I had, look at my draft. I have 4 college arms in the first 5 picks. But I just think, going with him here was a really good, it seemed like a good investment for the Royals, especially trying to build their pitching staff.
Yeah, I feel like Big U is one of those guys who's like definitely destined to be a reliever, just because of it. And it's like, again, a guy who's going to save you some money here, likely in the 4th round. It's a good fastball. He's touched 97 before. He's got a really, really good cutter that kind of helps him get off of barrels quite a bit. But it's a 2-pitch mix kind of, and it's like
Yeah.
you're gonna kind of see him work his way trying to learn a 3rd off-speed pitch. I think that's going to be the big thing for him. Like, he would stick out as a starter, I think, if you could learn a 3rd off-speed pitch, but he's got to really find it. So I think it's a guy you could take a shot on here. I do like that in the 4th round.
Yeah.
Move on to the 5th round. I love your pick here, Lucas Moore, Louisville outfielder.
Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that Zion Moore falls to that 30 pick, but it's just looking less and less likely that that's going to happen. I mean, I know an Overslot had him at Zion Rose at 19, but I think if like Lucas Moore, again, this is another polished guy, doesn't obviously have the athleticism of a Zion Rose, but he regressed a little his final year, but 1.0 walk to K ratio, 37 stolen bases. This is the kind of guy I just feel like the Royals do well with. It's a guy that just like does all the little things, has a lot of polish. The power is a question, but I feel like the Royals are getting better with developing power as their hitting development this year. And so I just feel like at 5, it's like, yeah, we like Moore or Rose, but we couldn't get him. But why not get a guy like Lucas Moore, who was teammates with Zion Rose and has been in that culture and can kind of maybe transition to the Royals and find success in the outfield?
Yeah, Lucas Moore has been one of the most prolific base stealers in all of college baseball. Like, he's made waves because of that 70 grade speed. It's a 55 grade, close to 60 grade hit tool. Like, he's able to get barrel the ball. Again, no power and not much of an arm in the outfield. So you're looking at a guy who's probably more of like a 4th outfielder type. But when you get to these later rounds and you start getting to the 5th or 4th, like if you can get a guy to stick it as a 4th outfielder and actually kind of produce on your team, like that's huge to have.
Exactly. I mean, it's like like a Kyle Isbell, right? But it's just like, hey, he might be a better base stealer than Kyle Isbell.
Yeah. I also went to college out here on the 5th round pick, and I went to the Royals. Love to get their college catchers. They love to stack the farm system with good catchers. You're looking at a guy who has really, really incredible pop times, a strong arm. He has a really great understanding for the game, for his pitching staff. This is Mackin Winslow out of North Carolina, former Duke catcher as well, transferred to North Carolina. Was kind of the backstop for the Tar Heels into their College World Series run into the championship. Has improved bat to ball skills. He's got a little bit of power, but like I watched him in the College World Series, and he just was overmatched by the pitching staff that kind of came his way. We kept talking about during that College World Series how the way the X factor for North Carolina was going to be like 5 through 9. Like, are they going to show up and hit? Winslow was in that 5 through 9 range, didn't show up and hit. So I think like the bat's going to be somewhat of a question mark for him as he kind of works his way. But you're looking at it again, money saver here. The defense is going to be incredible. Like, he could be a backup catcher in the big leagues if he can get some of the bat turned around. But those are the kind of guys the Royals like in these like middle round picks to save money to hopefully tap a prep guy later on.
Yeah, and I think that, with just the catchers, I do think the Royals handle catchers pretty well. We've obviously seen the development with Carter Jensen. I know Blake Mitchell has his issues, but he's representing in the futures game. They've had like some lower level catchers like Luca Tresh, who's found some success. So I kind of like this pick. It's a guy that kind of fits into their mold. And as when you're drafting, right, you want to find players that play into your development strengths. And we know that the Royals' development strengths is with catchers. There's a history of that. There's a continued history of that. So I like that pick at 5, even if there are some red flags.
Yeah. We want to get to round 6 through 10 here soon, but first we got to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
David Starnes Allstate Insurance is a proud partner of KC Sports Network, serving the Kansas City area and all throughout the Midwest. If you are looking for new coverage or something that better suits your home, auto, health, or any of your other insurance needs, give Dave and his team a call. Elevate your coverage and be worry-free with David Starnes Allstate Insurance.
With Yucca Boom Color Bar, what we're offering is luxury color services, but we're doing it on our client schedules. Didn't want to feel like or be a traditional salon. We wanted it to really feel like something completely different, especially for the Kansas City area. What we were trying to do is trying to find a brick and mortar that we could put a salon in. And it got complicated. And so what we ended up doing was pivoting, and we went into like a business acquisition mode where we were going to find a hair salon and then we were going to turn it into what we wanted to do. And Emprise was 100% behind that.
Like, we didn't just have a contact, we had a team, and they cared. And
we never sat in limbo at all with Emprise. They pushed us through, they helped us, support us. And not only that, but they've been our biggest cheerleaders since the day one.
everybody who wanted our money, it was very difficult. It was very challenging part of it. But the people who were giving us the money, Emprise Bank, that was the easiest part. So we will always be grateful to Emprise.
I'm Cricket,
I'm JC.
and together we're the owners of Yucca Boom Color Bar.
Come see us at Park Place.
All right, welcome back. We are into our draft talk here. We're going through our mock drafts. We went through 1 through 5 already. About to go through 6 through 10. Just to recap, for Kev's mock draft 1 through 5, he had Jackson Flora in round 1 out of UC Santa Barbara, right-handed pitcher. He had comp pick Logan Redeman, right-handed pitcher out of UCLA. Second round pick Cole Prosick, outfield shortstop out of Magnolia High School. Third round Jake McCoy, left-handed pitcher out of South Carolina. Fourth round, Dylan Vigu, right-handed pitcher out of Georgia. Fifth round, Lucas Moore, outfielder out of Louisville. I had Eric Booth Jr., first round outfielder. I had Jack Slidham, right-handed pitcher for the comp pick. Second round, Sean Duncan, left-handed pitcher, also high school prep guy out of Canada. Third round, I had Ethan Kleinschmidt, left-handed pitcher out of Oregon State. Fourth round, also had Dylan Vigu out of Georgia. And then fifth round, Mackin Winslow, catcher out of North Carolina. Let's get into round 6 through 10. Yours is Grayson Willoughby, right-handed pitcher out of Trinity High School.
Yeah, so I decided to go prep here. I just thought it was a good slot to do so. Willoughby would have been a $1.2 million sign, which is a 368,000 slot. So kind of was saving money for those kind of post pro-sec pitches. Willoughby is a Kentucky commit. Excellent stuff in frame. He's an older high schooler, so he's a 19-year-old high schooler. So, he's a little bit older. He's got a solid fastball changeup combo, so we know he's got a really good 2 pitches. The breaking stuff needs work. The body is there. I like him a lot. There's a little bit of Blake Walters vibes with here, but I really like, especially around 6, if you're getting a pitcher like that. I think it's like there could be some rotation upside. At the very least, you get a guy who can be a solid reliever just with those fastball and changeup combo.
I love it. I'm going to stick with the the college route because I'm still trying to save money after all the money we had to spend earlier in the draft. Matthew Thomas out of Cal State University, Northridge. This is a guy that I've kind of paid attention to. Is one of the big mid-major bats that has kind of popped off the charts. He really showed up at the MLB draft combine. 111 mile per hour at max exit velo. He hit a 448-foot home run. Just quick hands, some plus power. He was number 214 on our Just Baseball Media top 250 prospects. Again, I think this is a guy who's kind of got the tools and athleticism that you kind of dream on. Hit tool probably needs a lot of work because there's a lot of swing and miss there. Just kind of an aggressive approach to him, and maybe that's part of being in the mid majors where you're just kind of seeing less strikes in general, and you're just kind of being a little bit more aggressive. But the hit tool is just very fringy. So, but I think it's a guy, like, if you want to save some money and you want to kind of bet on some tools, he does have the ability to go back to Cal State Northridge for his senior year and try to kind of boost his draft stock. But I mean, if the Royals are able to kind of to pin him down in the top 10 rounds here, he could be a money saver, and you could get enough money to kind of pull him pre-camp it.
Yeah, I agree. I think if you can get a guy within these first 10 rounds, I think you can cite him regardless of he's slot or over slot. I like Thomas as well. I think, I mean, Northridge is not a powerhouse by any means, but there's some loud tools there, and they thought he had a pretty good combine as well.
Yeah. We are going on to round 7. Who we got here?
So I went relatively local and went with Josh McDevitt, a right-handed pitcher from Mizzou. Really good strikeout numbers, 11.6 K per 9 in his last season at Mizzou. He minimizes the walks, 2.62 K to walk. I think the Royals really like these kind of guys. It's like, hey, some guys with some local ties, some guys that, just have a good polished profile. He has that. He could prove that mid-rotation upside. I think he's more a pitcher than really maybe a thrower. But I like to see guys, again, when I'm looking at some of these guys in college, especially with the data, I'm looking at K per 9 and I'm looking at K to walk, and he excels in both of those areas. And I think at round 7, especially his estimated slot or signing value was 183,000. I think that makes a lot of sense to maybe save a little bit right there while still getting a good upside arm.
Yeah, no, I agree. I like that picking too. Like, he posted a 4.42 ERA, and you go, oh, that's not great for college, but he did in the SEC. So
Correct.
You're looking at a guy who went out there and pitched well against some of the best competition in college baseball, and you kind of maybe want to take a shot on a guy like that. I'm going with a guy here, Maddox Maloney, shortstop out of Oregon. So we talked about Maddox Maloney all preseason. Now he was the number 2 shortstop in the Big Ten. Potentially could have worked his way into a top 10 overall pick in this MLB draft. You look at what he did his freshman year. In 2024, he had 315, 10 home runs, 4 doubles, 31 RBIs. I believe if you look at the strikeout to walk ratio, 13 walks, 28 strikeouts. You go into 2025, he hit 309, 8 doubles, 15 home runs, 45 RBIs with a 565 slug, a 403 on base percentage. He had 25 walks and 34 strikeouts. Coming to 2026, batting average drops to 233. He's got 12 doubles, though. He's got 12 home runs, 39 RBIs, but the strikeouts kind of went up a little. They crept up every year from 28 to 34 to 40. It's just a guy that I think is really intriguing because there was potential to be a first rounder there if he continued to kind of trend upwards, and he just kind of struggled all year long. And this is a guy now that's dropped into the bottom, almost closer to the 300s in terms of rankings. Like, this was a guy that had a 55 grade arm, 55 grade field. The hit tool was a 55 grade going into the preseason. There was some power to potential to dream on. The run was 55. Like, this is a guy that you could have seen in the top 3 rounds, and now he's just kind of fallen, not even into the top 250 players in the draft. So I like the idea of taking a shot on Maloney, get somebody who can work with him. Maybe the draft pressure got to him a little bit. If you can get this guy in like the 7th round, save some money. I love the idea of getting Maddox Maloney in a Royals uniform.
I think that's a great pick. And I do think that when you get to this kind of rounds, sometimes upside is a better strategy. Yeah. And I think you have to also remember, right, like college baseball is just a fraction of a season of kind of what a professional season is. And And again, it's like, okay, if he had more at bats, would have things gotten better? Like if he had played so I do think that I think that's a good process. Again, I do think like you said, hey, like there's some strikeouts that has been ticking up that would have to be worked on. But like I said, I do think that the Royals hitting development has gotten better. And I do think that if you look at where high A and low A, which are the best teams right now in terms of competitiveness, it's because the hitting has gotten better. And so I like him as a possible project that has some really big upside that they got really late.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Looking at your 8th round pick, I love your 8th round pick. This is one of my favorite mid-major bats in college baseball.
I do, you would. And again, I'm biased. I went to Gonzaga, so like, okay,
Yeah.
I can get a WCC guy. I feel like WCC baseball is really slept on. I mean, it's just you got Pepperdine, man, has won a national title, but I mean, I know Pepperdine's not what they were, but Jacob Johnson, polished mid-major bat, hit 338 with 15 home runs. He was a big leader of this team that beat UCLA twice in the regional, right? They're the ones that booted out mighty number 1 UCLA.
Yeah.
And he's a guy that's really interesting because, he started off playing at a small school, then he went to JUCO, and then he went to St. Mary's for a year. And he's just hit everywhere. And I really like these kind of guys because they just, again, he has to prove it at each level, right? And it's like this is a guy that probably was very overlooked out of high school. I think he went to Mont Vista, in Danville, which Northern California. I mean, that's flush with baseball talent. It's not like you're not getting seen there, and yet like he just kind of proves it. And I think those are kind of guys that can really blossom in the professionals because they understand like, hey, I got to prove myself each day. And again, he's not a guy that's going to move necessarily like really quickly, or he might not initially be on a lot of prospect lists, but he's a guy that it wouldn't be surprising to me if we're like, hey, he's in the majors. Where'd this guy come from? And you're like, yeah, he went from St. Mary's and he was an 8th round pick and he's had made a big impact. So I definitely, when he was available in this slot, I felt like, hey, I got to pounce on him.
Yeah, no, I like that pick a lot. It's a guy who barrels the ball with ease. He's able to kind of work everything to the entire field. Like this is a really good pick. And again, defensively, kind of some question marks, but I think he's a guy who the bat's going to have him kind of rise quickly through the minors. I continue to save money, just like you here. When Hudson Barrett, left-handed pitcher out of Oklahoma State, he kind of just checks every Brian Bridges box you could possibly think. Fastball that has carry up to 95 miles an hour. It's got some late tail to it. He could get some swing and miss to it. He's a very long, lanky lefty or big lefty with a big, solid frame. So he's got some deception to it as well. He's got a sweeper and changeup also in his offerings, and all of his pitches have huge chase and whiff rates, which I think that is the one thing that the Royals have targeted in some of these past drafts. Are like, who are some guys that maybe didn't have their best numbers, maybe were relievers, but had some very strong chase and whiff rates on some pitches, and Hudson Barrett has them on all 3. So like I could see the Royals like really, really picking a college guy here like Hudson Barrett, just because again, the size, the lefty, the ability to get swing and miss on his 3 pitches. I just feel like this is a guy who just kind of screams Brian Bridges and the trends that they've been doing in the last couple of drafts.
Yeah, I think especially these later rounds, you want to look at skills, right? And ERAs, especially we all know that certain environments in college can be very hitter friendly. The competition can be really tough. So you combo those 2 things with a hitter friendly environment and tough competition. And again, ERAs are going to be inflated. But it's the big thing, like you said, is like, do they generate chase? Do they generate whiff? Do they generate strikeouts? And Barrett checks all those marks. And especially for an 8th round pick, it's like, that's what I'm looking for. Like I'd rather have that than the guy who's got like a 3 ERA, but it's like the Ks are down. That's just not going to be a sustainable thing when you go to professional ball.
We're moving on to round 9. You have James Smith IV, an outfielder out of Memphis.
Yeah, I kind of was looking through these picks and I was going through it, and then I just felt like this guy screamed Royals. I mean, athletic guy with some biting power, had a 524 slugging and 11 home runs in final year at Memphis. Stolen base numbers weren't there, but the reports are kind of just like he probably has a better base runner than a base stealer. It's really interesting too, is that he's being listed as a pitcher, even though he hasn't pitched a whole lot. I mean, he pitched his I think his first year at Memphis, and he hasn't pitched since. But I think that's a testament to his arm strength. I think probably one of the reasons why they're picking him as a pitcher is probably because there's probably some contact issues with him. I think there's a profile with him that's kind of like a Corey Cousin or a Noah Barber, who is in the complex, but just a little older. I mean, he's an older guy. I mean, so at 23, it's he's probably going to be in high A ball real quick, and we'll kind of and he's probably a guy you're going to know what he is right away. It's either this guy's can be kind of a sleeper and can kind of move, or he's probably just going to be a career minor leaguer. But I think especially at this pick, it feels like he fits into the Royals kind of mantra, and I like going with another guy here who's probably going to come pretty cheap. I mean, he's a senior, so he's not going to command too much in terms of signing bonus. So I felt hey, let's just go with this guy right here.
No, I like that. I'm finally not saving money because I decided that I saved all this money for this guy right here. Colton Brady, out of North Collins, New York, TNXL Academy High School. Reminds me a lot of Kyle DeGroat. This is what the Royals did last year, I believe. They saved a lot of, or not last year, year before that. DeGroat was 24. Yeah. So they saved a lot of money in those middle rounds. They got the Dennis Collarins, they got the Zach Coyers as well. All these guys are kind of filled in the middle rounds to get Kyle DeGroat. I think Colton Brady's going to get a little bit of bigger payday than Kyle DeGroat did. I think he's going to be someone that might need somewhere near a 7-figure bonus. So I think it's going to be a little bit tougher to get him away from LSU because LSU probably gave him some NIL money to get there. But this is a guy who's has seen some big velocity gains. He's touched 94. It's just a lot to project on too, as well. It's very, very smooth delivery. I think when you look at a guy that has that just kind of smooth delivery, you can in a balanced delivery, you can kind of see that there's going to be some velocity growth there. And I think Colton Brady is one of those guys that could really skyrocket if the gets into the right developmental team. And I think the Royals have the pitching development right now to get the most out of a guy like Colton Brady. So I see him being somewhat similar to a Kyle DeGroat. I don't know if the Royals would give someone like him a 7-figure deal here later in the rounds. I don't know if they'd have the money to do it. But I do think Colton Brady would be an interesting pick. They like their cold weather arms that they know they can kind of build on.
Yeah, and I think that's something we need to pay attention to when we're on the live draft is, what's the trend that we're seeing? And you kind of showed this of hey, college. And then kind of right here at 9, you're kind of okay, I'm putting the chips in. I'm going with Brady. I know it's going to be a hard sign, but I've done the work. And this is what's so different from the NFL draft and the NBA draft is there's a gamesmanship here, and you got to be smart with it, and you got to do this on the fly because you don't know who's going to be available. But I think that's this is kind of one of the things because you're at round 9, but you're paying him pretty good money, right? If you're paying him 7 figures, that's pretty competitive money we're talking about here. That's second round value that you're talking about. So that's where sometimes you see a guy like a Colton Brady who might be drafted in the 9th round, but is really a 2nd or 3rd round pick based on their slot value.
Yeah, no, I love it. And Brady's kind of similar to your 10th round pick, even though he's a college guy. Miami had some NIL money this year, and they're one of the top transfer portals. And Blake Morningstar out of Wake Forest was the big transfer get for the Miami Hurricanes. So I feel like Morningstar is going to be a tough get, even though he had some really bad numbers. But I do like this 10th round pick.
And I think that kind of what you mentioned with some of your earlier picks, right? Is Morningstar going to take the NIL and say, hey, you know what, I'm going to go to Miami and see if I can improve my draft stock next year. Like you said, the ERA is not good. I mean, even for inflated ERA standards, this was not good. So, but good stuff, strong K numbers. He was much better in 2025. So, so there is some kind of maybe bounce back. I do maybe with the Wake Forest connection with just maybe with McFerrin, could there be some insight that he could give? I don't know if McFerrin obviously did not have any connection with him, but he's been in the system. He knows what Wake Forest guys are that he knows what they're exposed to. So I kind of went with that too, but I agree. I think this is kind of a little bit of a reach because I do think he's a guy that I think NIL's going to be in his best benefit, especially coming off the season he has. But I do think this could be a sneaky one that some people might say, what? 8.67 ERA? What are the Royals doing? Fire JJ. And then it's like, oh, hey, maybe this guy was pretty good.
Well, yeah, Dennis Colleran had like a 9 ERA because he was coming back from Tommy John surgery.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, the 2 weeks of research you did this, guys, come on. Let's.
I went back to money saving mode in my last pick here because spend too much money on Brady and everybody else. Going JP Robertson out of Ole Miss, 4 something. I think it was like a 4.24 ERA this past season. But it's a real live arm. He's been up to 100 miles an hour with a fastball. It's a really nice low to mid 80s slider that goes along with it. Doesn't have a third pitch, so like he's probably a bullpen arm. But we've seen like a Dennis Colleran who they picked. Guy was 100 miles an hour, has a wipeout slider. Like JB Robertson kind of falls in that same kind of category and pitched in the SEC. So he's got that experience where he's 22.4 years old. On draft day, he's probably going to move quickly through the minors as a reliever. I think that's just kind of a guy you look at and you're like, okay, you need a bullpen arm, get JB Robertson.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing is like, if you believe in that tin stat principle, right, that there's no such thing as a pitching prospect, and we've seen kind of the Royals bullpen has not been good this year. It's like you want guys that are maybe their ceiling isn't that high, but we want guys who could move quickly and contribute. And I think Robertson could fit that mold. I mean, I think he's a guy who could move quickly, and before you know it, is contributing in a major league based bullpen.
Yeah, I feel like the college reliever is basically your kicker of the NFL draft.
It is. It really is. It's just like, why are you doing that? But it's like there's a value here, and it can make a difference, right? It can make a difference in terms of you don't have to pay premium free agency for a reliever, and you have guys that are going to be plentiful, which was what you need as any kind of system.
Yeah, you get your college, like, oh, why are you taking this guy? Well, you need bullpen arms at some point.
Right. We can't all have sexy starters, that's just how it is.
That does it for us. That's all 1 through 10 picks of the mock drafts. We're really excited for draft day starting on Saturday. We're going to have a live stream with KC Sports Network. I think Kev will be there, Joel will be there, I'll be there. We'll be breaking down picks 6 and 30 for the Kansas City Royals on day 1. So excited to have you all tune in and looking forward to that stream. And yeah, until next time, we'll see you.